Alrighty, it's time, finally. I've tried like freaking 3 times to freaking record this, and then Devil May Cry came out, and my god, I had to play that shit. So anyway, this is Devil Fruit Down Low. We are going to be talking about Monet, who's not in the game, and, well, frankly, she didn't do a whole hell of a lot, in the anime. She really didn't. So who is Monet? Well, Monet is a heartbeat, meaning she has a human body, and then for arms, she has, big bird wings, and for legs, she has, bird legs, complete with talons. Now it's shown in flashbacks that she did used to have human arms and human legs, so it's basically like, at some point down the line, she received this modification, and it's implied that it's supposed to be the fault of Trafalgar Law, who is, from what I've heard, might be a DLC character a little bit further down the road for Jump Force. And if he shows up in One Piece World Seeker, which comes out next Friday, I'll probably do the video about him then. But basically, the short version is that due to the nature of Law's devil fruit powers, one of the abilities he has is called Shambles, and what he does with it is he can literally swap anything around. He can, if he's done it to Marines where he has like completely plopped a dude's head off and replaced it with a freaking cannonball that then explodes and takes out that guy and all his buddies. And, and due to the magical nature of Law's devil fruit powers, the body parts don't die. Like, he can literally decapitate you, but it won't kill you. And he can also, like, remove, like, he can remove bodily organs this way. You know, like, important vital organs this way, and this is actually what leads to Monet's death. But we'll get to that. But because of the magical nature of his fruit, he can even remove vital organs, and it won't kill a person, because due to the magical powers of his fruit, even though the body part is no longer physically attached to the person, it still can function and do its job as if it was still attached. So it's implied that perhaps at some point in the past, Monet had a run-in with Law, and just to screw with her, he used his Shambles ability to remove her arms and legs and replace them with bird wings and bird legs, which means somewhere in the world there's a bird with the arms and legs of a human woman. That darn bird's probably dead. That bird's most likely dead. But it's implied that it's kind of like that's what happened, that he'd had a run-in with her before and he did that to her. But she made it work. And the reason she ends up in the story is because Monet, along with her sister Sugar, who I need to do a video talking about her because Sugar's off the wall with her abilities. Because her, along with Law, their abilities are like, they seem to be totally random, but they kind of follow a theme. Law's powers all stem around a theme of being a doctor and doctors in hospitals. That's what all of his abilities kind of revolve around. And Sugar's abilities kind of revolve around, you know, being a kid and being young. So I'll have to talk about her abilities. And actually, Monet, I believe, is actually the younger sister, but due to one of the side benefits of Sugar's fruit, Sugar looks like a much younger kid. She looks like she's the little sister, but she's really not. This is something that anime does, like One Punch Man does this with the psychic sisters Tatsumaki and Fubuki, where Fubuki looks a hell of a lot older. She's got the typical womanly figure, whereas Tatsumaki looks like a young kid. She looks like she's maybe 12 and everything, but she's actually like in her freaking 20s, and she's actually Fubuki's older sister. They do this a lot in anime. They kind of do it with Full Metal Alchemist too. Although it's not like where people think that, Alphonse Elric is the Full Metal Alchemist because he's in that full body suit of armor. They make that distinction, but they also think that because Alphonse is so big due to his soul possessing that armor, that he's the freaking big brother and Edward is the younger brother. They do this a lot in anime. Seems to be more often with girls. I don't hear it too often with boys. There could be other shows that I've just never seen that they do it with. But anyway. But yeah, Sugar's off the walls with her abilities. Now Monet is more simplified. Monet has a devil fruit that I believe was actually her and her sister's devil fruits were given to them by the guy that they work for, a guy named Doflamingo, who I've mentioned before. And he gave them their devil fruit. Now Doflamingo is basically running an underground, operation where he works with a guy named Caesar Clown, who used to work with Dr. Vegapunk, the guy that worked for the world government, that figured out a way to impart the abilities of devil fruits into freaking inanimate objects like swords and cannons and shit. And because Caesar Clown worked with Dr. Vegapunk, he is kind of knowledgeable of how to do this, so he can actually do this himself. He creates this humongous toxic monster called Smiley that's like his pet, and it's because he infused we don't know the name of the fruit. I would think it would be something like lizard fruit or something, but it was a fruit based on an amphibious I don't know, is the axolotl, is that an amphibian or is it a lizard? I'm not sure, but it's an amphibious creature called the axolotl. I think it's like an amphibious salamander. I think that's what the axolotl is. And the salamander is a lizard, so I think it's the lizard fruits, model axolotl. Which that took me a lot of tries to get to pronounce right. But anyway, so you can do that, but the one thing that Doflamingo uses Caesar Clown for is to produce these things called smiles, which are artificial devil fruits that he then sells to Kaido, who is another big-name pirate that he gives to all of his crew members. Now, so far we have not seen any Paramecia or Logia-type smiles. We've only seen zone-based smiles, but because they're basically artificial, they're copies. They're not perfect, so there's a member of Kaido's crew that ate the horse smile. Her name is Speed. She ate the horse smile, and it's basically when you eat the smile, it permanently transforms you into a hybrid of whatever the animal the fruit was based on, the powers the fruit was based on. So, this could be something like you could eat a tiger fruit and have a tiger head spawn out of your right shoulder, and, you have this tiger head that's just constantly sitting there staring at you, eyeing you hungrily, but it won't eat you because if it did, it would kill you and thus it would die. But Speed got lucky in that she got turned into a centaur. Her fruit was based on the horse. Her lower body, from the waist down, got turned into the body of a horse, and I think she also grew horse ears out of the top of her head. So she got off lucky using that. But yeah, the Doflamingo makes those fruits, gives them to Kaido. Kaido gives them to members of his crew. Doflamingo uses Caesar Clown to do it. Caesar Clown also has a devil fruit. He's a Logia himself. He ate the gas fruit, which lets him turn his whole body into a poisonous gas. And control that and stuff like that. Well, Monet was actually sent by Doflamingo to serve as an assistant to Caesar Clown, but to also, like, an assistant slash bodyguard for Caesar Clown, but to also kind of keep an eye on him and make sure he did what Doflamingo wanted him to do. So that's why she was there. Now, she didn't do a whole hell of a lot. She was kind of there. She tried to freeze Luffy to death with her powers, and of course she failed because Luffy is main hero luck. You know, you can have the absolute shit kicked out of you, but unless the story says that you die, you don't die. So that's Luffy's luck for being the main hero. Like, could you imagine how freaking horrible, like, just think about it, how horrible, like, the life of being, you know, the main hero of one of these, like, you know, shonen battle manga stories would be. Like, your life is nothing but, like, yeah, you get some funny downtime moments, but then, like, whenever there's a serious fight, you're always gonna end up fighting the most powerful opponent, and you're gonna get the ever-loving shit beat out of you. Like, 8 ways to Sunday, you're gonna be beaten senseless, and you're like, you're just gonna barely eke out a win, and then you're gonna collapse and wake up in a hospital going, oh god, what happened? Did we win? And then you have downtime, and then freaking, here we go again. Like, really? It would be like, it kind of be like a form of torture, really. You know, it's something that you voluntarily go through because you're always, battling for the greater good. But still, it would kind of be like a self-imposed torture if you really think about it. But anyway, she tried to freeze Luffy to death. She failed, and she also fought a marine lady named Tashigi, who was a swordswoman, a very skilled swordswoman as well. And she was also a victim of Law's shambles, but instead of like a physical change, Law actually like swapped her personality, like her consciousness, with the consciousness of her commanding officer, a guy named Smoker. So that he basically swapped their bodies around, like, okay, put Smoker's mind into Tashigi's body and vice versa. So there's funny moments where Tashigi is like losing her shit trying to figure out how to freaking control Smoker's devil fruit abilities. Like, she's like, how do I turn back to normal, Smoker? What's going on? How do I control this? And he's like, just calm down and relax. Meanwhile, he's like ripping off her bra because he said it's too constricting on the chest, and he basically walks around like just her shirt like wide open, huge maw of cleavage sticking out, the shirt just barely covering her breasts enough, like it reveals a huge amount of cleavage, showing you just how stacked Tashigi really is. But he's just like, shit, like, Tashigi, how do you wear this crap all the time? It's too freaking restricting. And he, like, takes off her bra and opens up her shirt to where it's just, like, hanging open. Like, how people, like, are usually seen wearing, like, Hawaiian shirts. Like a t-shirt under that, and then, like, the shirt wide open. But, like, with her, it's like there's no, undershirt. It's just wide open. And basically, if a breeze comes through, that sucker's coming completely open. And Tashigi's mortified, obviously, that, but what can she do, But anyway, Tashigi fights Monet. She puts up a decent fight, but Tashigi's just a swordswoman. She's a damn good swordswoman, but she doesn't possess haki, at least not yet, which is something that you really need if you're gonna go up against a Logia like Monet. Due to the nature of Logia abilities, as I've talked about before, they can turn into their element, whatever their elemental power is based on, they can turn into an element, and that kind of negates any and all damage they would take in a given situation. Like it's like with Sabo can turn into straight up fire. You can try to punch him, but, you know, it's gonna have the same effect as trying to punch fire. You know, you're just gonna burn yourself. You know, like with Monet, she turns into snow, and yeah, you can punch snow. You can punch it, but what good does it do? You know, it doesn't hurt the snow, you know? So, it's the same idea with, you know, using like a sword or a gun. We haven't seen anybody use hockey on bullets yet, at least not that I can think of. We have seen people use it on like swords and like staffs and stuff. We've seen that be done. Hockey power doesn't just work on your own body, it can work on your weapons too, but you gotta be pretty good with it to do it. You know, like Zoro can put hockey onto his swords, and like enhance their abilities, and then he can like fight Logia users, and actually, you know, be able to cut them and injure them with his swords. Tashigi does not possess hockey, or at least she doesn't possess it yet, or if she does, she hasn't like demonstrated like really being able to use it. So Tashigi's trying her best to fight off Monet, and she's putting up a pretty decent fight, but she's just not like doing enough. And then Zoro kind of shows up, and he's like, okay, it's against my rules to fight a woman, but you know, it's also against my rules to just let a lady die if I can help it. So he's like, you know, Tashigi, if you keep this up, you know, you're trying your best, but you're fighting a losing battle. You know, she's gonna overwhelm you eventually. So Zoro basically hockeys up his swords just enough that he can cut Monet's snow body, but not like do any damage to her. He damages her more psychologically than anything, because he splits her from like stern, like head to sternum. Like basically from the top of her head down, he splits her in half. Now it doesn't do any damage, you know, he did it in such a way to where, you know, he hockeys up his swords and he does this cut, and just so, showing you what a good swordsman he is, that he can do this just so to where he knows it's not gonna actually hurt her. But just this whole idea of, oh my god, I've been split in freaking half, lengthwise, you know, up and down, split in half vertically, like that's the psychological damage. And then like him and she, it kind of ends off shortly after that. So that was kind of the big thing, was her facing off with Tashigi and her facing off with Zoro. Now, what ends up killing her is towards the end of the Punk Hazard arc, where her and Caesar Clown and everybody show up. Is at some point Trafalgar Law had used his Shambles ability to remove his heart and Monet's heart. And whenever he removes a vital organ like that, it's put into like kind of this see-through case, like a little square cube, and you know, due to the magical powers of Law's fruit, you know, the heart's still connected to the body through magical means, so the heart is still able to pump blood and still function as if it was there. You know, it's magical devil fruit powers. What do you want? But Caesar Clown was aware that Law had done this to himself. He wasn't aware that he had also done it to Monet. So Caesar happens to find a heart in a box and thinks it's Caesar and thinks it's Law's. So he's like, "Ha ha, Law, you sucker! I'm gonna end you now." And then he I think he takes a knife and he stabs the heart through the box to destroy it. But it, you know, of course, it wasn't actually Law's heart; it was Monet's. And you know, just because her heart is magically, remember, there's still a connection. So if the heart is destroyed in that box, it would have the same effect as if you just walked up to Monet and stabbed her right in the freaking heart. You know, just normally, it would have the same effect, so it kills her. And that's like Monet shows up for one arc, one part of the story, and then she's gone. She's gone forever. She's one of the handful of devil fruit users we have actually we've confirmed are dead. The first, of course, is Whitebeard. Blackbeard and his gang saw to that. Ace died shortly after that. Smiley dies during this part of the story. and Monet dies during this story, and then later on it's shown that the Blackbeard pirates have gone after this guy named Absalom, who had this invisibility-based devil fruit, and they killed him and took his power and gave it to their resident swordsmen. So that's, there's only a handful of devil fruit users who confirmed are dead, and Monet is one of them. Now, here's, while she didn't last all that long, she was only in one arc, just one part of the overarching story, but it's not about, what's big about Monet is not so much about what she actually did in the story, what she actually did in the story, it's what her death could mean for the story, the impact her death could have on the story, and that is the way devil fruits reincarnate. Basically, the idea is that when a devil fruit user dies, the power of the devil fruit leaves their body and goes into the nearest fruit to transform that fruit into the next incarnation of that devil fruit. And it's a rinse and repeat. Fruit gets eaten, person gets powers, later on the person dies, and then the power leaves and goes and finds a new fruit to act as like a temporary host until another person comes along and eats it. Rinse and repeat on through infinity. Well, some people have said that it's like the devil fruits go, the powers go and look for specific fruits. Okay, one of the guys of CP9, that government organization that Luffy and the gang had to fight in order to save Robin. One of them, he ate a giraffe zone fruit that let him gain the abilities of a giraffe. And this is one of the times we actually get to see a devil fruit before it's eaten, and his devil fruit looked like a banana. So his name was Kaku, and so basically this theory is saying that if Kaku dies, then his giraffe devil fruit ability would go and look for the nearest banana to possess. But what if what if Kaku happens to be on the other side of the world where there are no bananas? The nearest banana is in a town that's literally on the other side of the world or something, I don't is the devil fruit ability going to literally just traverse the entire world? Can it instantly teleport into the nearest banana, even if it's on the other side of the planet? We don't know, it could be, but I think it's more likely that the power just kind of goes into whatever the nearest usable fruit is, and most people are of that same idea. The powers reincarnating in whatever the nearest available fruit is, and interestingly with Punk Hazard, we see, at least in the anime, we see that Smiley's fruit reincarnates into an apple tree. Well, Monet was a ways away from that apple tree, but where she did die, the closest fruits to that area was, as far as people can figure out, were the tangerine trees that are on the deck of the Thousand Sunny, which is the Straw Hat Pirates ship. So basically, the theory is that when Monet died, her devil fruit ability went into one of the tangerines that are on those trees. And so basically the Straw Hats, Luffy and the gang, they have a devil fruit available for, somebody to eat and gain the powers of. They just don't realize it yet because too much crazy crap has been happening since, since Monet died. In between Monet's death and now, a lot of craziness has been happening. So the Straw Hats haven't really had, time to sit back and chill, enough to discover, oh, we have this funky looking fruit. Holy crap, it's a devil fruit. Holy crap, how long has that been there, and how did it get there? And then, like, it would probably take somebody eating the fruit and figuring out what the power was for them to go, wait a minute, there was that one girl that worked with that clown guy that had the snow fruit. Oh, crap. You know, like, devil fruit powers only reincarnate like this when the user dies, so she must have died at some point, and our fruit trees were the closest trees. Yeah, by the way, you gotta understand that the Thousand Sunny is a crazy-ass ship. It's got fruit trees, like, it's got grass on the freaking deck. Like, it's got enough dirt built into the freaking main deck to be able to grow trees. But it makes logical sense, you know, they are pirates, they are sailors, and, you know, sailors did keep around supplies of, like, lemons and limes and oranges to help prevent scurvy, so it does kind of make sense of why they would have it. It's just that, you know, this is the One Piece world where you can literally build a plot of land into the deck of your ship big enough to grow trees that produce fruit. I kind of like this theory, and I kind of hope it pans out. Now, the question is, though, who in the world would eat this devil fruit? Who would, you know, become the successor to Monet? Well, you know, okay, Sanji, like who I'm fighting right now, you know, Sanji, okay, he does not have a devil fruit ability, but with his, you know, his fighting abilities that he possesses, you know, his the different martial arts, all kick-based techniques that he knows, plus he has 2 forms of hockey. You know, like, basically, yeah, he could use a devil fruit, but he doesn't really need it. Same deal with Zoro. You know, Zoro's just like, you know, he's a fantastic swordsman and has the same hockey abilities that Sanji has, the observation and armament. They both have that. It's just, you know, Zoro uses it differently than Sanji does because, you know, obviously they're 2 different characters. They fight 2 different ways. The whole idea is that, okay, like, these guys can use it, but they don't need it, you know? Like, that's, like, why these 2, like, Sanji and Zoro will probably never get devil fruit abilities. They don't really need them. So, okay, well, supposedly, the only person that's been able to eat more than 1 devil fruit and survive has been Blackbeard, so assuming that's the case, then, okay, that eliminates Luffy, Robin, Chopper, and Brook, you know, because they're all devil fruit users, so who's left? Well, there's Frankie, but Frankie's a freaking cyborg, so I don't know how, like, I don't know how the whole, you know, devil fruit ability of the metal, you know, would affect the metal parts of his body. But, like, you know, Frankie's pretty damn tough. He's not as tough as Sanji and Zoro, but he's pretty damn tough, so, well, his cyborg upgrades, he probably doesn't need a devil fruit either, so he falls under that doesn't really need it category. So who is left that could really use it, and, you know, you could make an argument that they'd kind of need it. Well, there's Nami, and it makes a lot of sense for Nami because, 1, tangerines are her favorite fruit. In fact, I think she's the whole reason why the trees are there. And you don't just, like, walk up and take a freaking, you know, tangerine off of the, you know, Straw Hat's tangerine trees without consulting Nami, because, you know, those are her trees. Like, yes, we all use the fruits, but it's, you know, because Nami said we can, kind of thing. And, so it would make sense that, you know, okay, Nami, you know, loves tangerines, it's her favorite fruit, so, you know, she could find it. Now, it makes sense for her to find the fruit. But I don't think she's gonna be the one to get it. Now, she could definitely use it, because the Logi abilities to, like, you know, turn into the element and dodge damage like that, that would help out, Nami immensely. Because, Nami's kind of a glass cannon. Her abilities all revolve around her main weapon, which is called the Climb Attack, which is a stab weapon that she can generate bubbles of hot air, cold air, or condensed electricity, and use them to basically influence the local weather to literally make it rain, to create thunderstorms, crap like that. That's the kind of stuff that she does. That's how Nami fights. Is like basically manipulating the localized weather to, do all this kind of, weather-based attacks. And if you didn't know how her weapon worked, you could possibly think, oh my god, does this chick have a devil fruit? No, it's all that staff weapon of hers doing it. And then here recently, she did kinda get a devil fruit ability because she was able to convince a character called Zeus, who was a living thundercloud that was created by Big Mom, the head honcho of the Big Mom pirates, and one of the most powerful pirates in the world, alongside Kaido and whatnot. Zeus was created through Big Mom's powers, Big Mom's devil fruit abilities, where she can rip out people's souls, or at least parts of their souls, and throw them into inanimate objects and bring them to life in the forms of these, like, talking trees, or talking flowers, or talking whatever, things with faces on them, called homies. Well, she has 3 main homies that she keeps around, which is Zeus the Thundercloud, Prometheus the humongous fireball, and Napoleon, which is her hat, which I don't know what Napoleon does. Zeus and Prometheus, it'd be pretty friggin' obvious, but I don't know what Napoleon actually does, but thanks to Nami's Climattact abilities and Nami's own shall we say forceful willpower, she got Zeus to now work for her. So Nami has a limited level of access to a devil fruit ability. Not her ability, it's still Big Mom's ability, but Nami basically stole part of Big Mom's power from her. So, okay, that's a major power boost for her, because we saw the stuff that Big Mom did with Zeus. So, you imagine Nami's gonna figure out some cool shit to do with Zeus. But while she has all these cool weather-based abilities, and now she has Zeus, Nami doesn't have hockey. She, girl, stays fit. She is very physically fit, but, she doesn't have, any abilities that really, keep her protected from damage. Nami is still, for the most part, completely normal human. Which means, if she takes a serious freaking hit, it's not a question of, oh, will she be badly injured by this, like other characters would be badly injured. No, it's the question of, is she gonna die? So, she's got, pretty powerful attacks, but, her defense is super low. So, the defensive aspects of a Logia Devil Fruit would really help out. Now, she could learn how to use the Devil Fruit in conjunction with her Climattack. She could, but I'm kind of in agreement with a lot of people who are saying that, yes, it would definitely fix her defense issue, but if she can just turn into snow and crap, it would just make more sense to use her snow-based abilities more than it would be to, try to, figure out how to work the Climattack and now new snow abilities together. So it would kind of make all the training, all the practicing that she's done, learning the ins and outs of weather and how to, manipulate it with the Climattack, it would make all of her studies a moot point. Because she can just turn into snow now. Yeah, she still knows how to do all that stuff, and she can still use the Climattack, but hell, it would make more sense to use the, the Devil Fruit ability 90% of the time. So it would kind of eliminate the entire freaking point of all her training with the Climattack. Well, who else is there? Well, there's Jinbei, but he's, one of the most powerful fishmen, which is literally a human fish. I think he's based on a whale shark, and he's said to be one of the most powerful fishmen in the world, if not the most powerful. And fishmen are always way more powerful than humans, so he doesn't really need it. So the only person on the ship that could potentially become a crew member that could use it is Carrot. Now, Carrot is a mink, which means that she is a humanoid animal. Particularly, she's a rabbit. And now, minks all have the ability to produce what's called electro, which is basically they can generate electricity within their bodies. Now this gives Carrot formidable fighting abilities, especially hand-to-hand. They also have like kind of like a werewolf transformation called Sulong, where they can like look up at a full moon and transform into a souped-up, powerful form. But that's situational, okay? That's situational. There's not always going to be a full moon available for Carrot to use to transform. And you know, there's going to be enemies that are going to be like, she can just lay into people as much as she wants with her electro, but there's going to be enemies that are just too strong for a homegirl to be able to really affect. Like, oh, that was mildly annoying getting zapped by this rabbit. Okay, backhand, and then Carrot's almost dead from one freaking hit. That's how strong some of the enemies they have are now. But if Carrot had a devil fruit ability and could learn how to like mix that, like she can like create a room full of snow and then have her body merge into that, and then like have her paws come out of the snow at like random ass angles, and then those paws generate electro, then like she could literally have like a freaking like endless freaking supply of freaking fists just coming out of everywhere. Like you'd never know where she was coming from, and every time she hits you, she zaps the hell out of you. So she could definitely use that, because her electro abilities are just something she was born with. It's not something she had to really look. I'm sure she had to learn how to like some more advanced techniques, but it's something that all minks are born with, so she could really work that into her abilities. Also, like with Monet's devil fruit, like she could generate snow, she could turn into snow, manipulate cold and everything like that. One thing she could do was create snowballs that were like super dense, and it was like throwing like really big heavy rocks at people when it would hit. But she could also shape these snowballs, and just for like a little bit of creative flair, Monet turned the snowballs to look like the heads of little snow rabbits. In fact, this barrage of super dense, super heavy, hard-hitting snowballs was actually just called Yuki Rabi, translation Snow Rabbit, where she's just bombarding people. Like this is her multi-shot long-range attack, is like launching these super dense snowballs. It's like being hit with like rocks the size of your fist being launched like out of a freaking cannon. Like imagine like a rock the size of your fist getting shot out of like an air cannon, and now there's tons of them being shot at you. That's kind of like what we're dealing with the Yuki Rabi. Now, how much, like there was already an attack that was used by the previous user that was called Yuki Rabi, literally Snow Rabbit. If and Carrot is a white rabbit mink. So if she ate this snow-based Logia devil fruit that, presumably that possibly the Straw Hats have, if she eats it, then she will literally become a snow rabbit. She will literally become a Yuki Rabi. And I can think of so many ways that she could really incorporate her electro. Now, she couldn't, just, create a room full of snow and then, freaking, just electro through it. I think the only time, because I actually looked it up, and they said, due to the nature, the frozen nature of snow and all the air pockets that are trapped within it, snow does not actually conduct electricity like regular water. It doesn't. But, she could, launch her fists out of, wherever from the snow that she would create, and then, have them turn solid and electro from there. Which would be really cool, and Luffy has that Gum Gum Gatling where he's launching multiple freaking attacks all at once. Here we go, here's Gum Gum, this is Hawk Gatling, but you see. Now imagine a rabbit girl doing something like that, but manipulating snow and electricity. So that's I really want to see Carrot join the crew, like, because, you know, her dream is to travel the world. She's never seen, like, outside of her home island of Zoe before. And she can also draw maps. She gets along really well with Nami, whose dream is to create a map of the world. Nami can already draw maps, but Nami's basically the acting captain on the freaking ship, because, like, the Straw Hats don't normally act like a regular crew. You know, like, if they act like a regular crew, Luffy would be giving the orders to Zoro, who's the first mate, and then Zoro would go and give the orders to everybody else. That's the way it normally works, but basically, when they're on the ship, you know, Luffy does give orders on occasion, and there's some, I think there's been like 1 or 2 times that Luffy's actually told Zoro something, and then Zoro spread the word. But for the most part, when they're on the ship, Nami kind of takes charge, so Nami's kind of the acting captain. So, girl's got a lot on her plate already. So if she could just get somebody that could draw the maps for her, yeah, she can do it herself, but if she can get somebody that draws the maps for her, and whose dream it is to travel the world, and Nami's dream is to create a map of the world, then, you know, the two would work well together, and they already like each other, they're already pretty decent friends. Plus it would add another female to the crew, because currently there's only 2, Nami and Robin. You know, for the most part, the Straw Hat Pirates are kind of a sausage fest. Most of the members are men. There's only 2 females. So it would add another girl to the mix. It would also add another, not human member, because Jinbei is not human, Chopper's not human. All the other members are human, even Brook, even though Brook is technically a skeleton, but we'll get into how his abilities work at some later date. He is still technically human. So, yeah, it would kind of make a more interesting dichotomy. Yeah, in case you were paying attention to all that, yes, the Straw Hat Pirates crew is a very weird hodgepodge crew, but it works. So I really want Carrot to join, and I really hope they do actually have this fruit and let Carrot get it, because it would boost her abilities. You know, Zulong is impressive, but it's situational. You know, there's not always gonna be a full freaking moon for her to use, you know? So if she can have something that gives her extraordinary abilities, and then, like, outside of the full moon, and then, like, okay, then the full moon comes, and then she goes Sulong, which makes her Electro, and, like, her physical strength and everything so much greater, and then she combines that with the, you know, the Yuki no Mi, the snow fruits, you know, snow generation, and everything like that. My god! Carrot would become a monster! I'm just seeing, like, how much devastation Homegirl could cause using that. So please, Oda Sensei, please let Carrot join the crew and let them find out that they have the Yuki no Mi and let Carrot eat it. Please, we need our snow rabbit. Please. Okay, so who's next? I should talk about Sugar, but I want to talk about 2 more Straw Hats. And so I think I'll talk about Chopper next, the doctor of the ship, and then we'll talk about the archaeologist, Nico Robin. Thanks for listening.